These are tips and tricks on how to move around in Google Spreadsheets. So if you're in Chrome, you can get to Google Spreadsheets by clicking on your Apps button, Drive, or if you're in your email, you can click on the Google Apps button at the top and choose Drive from there. Once you have Drive open, depending on if you're in the old version or the new version, you'll see New, or if you're in the old version, you'll see Create. So we're in the new version. We're going to go ahead and click on New, and you can click on Google Sheets to open a new sheet, or if you have a spreadsheet that you want to convert into Google, you'll click on File Upload, find the spreadsheet, click on Open, once it's been uploaded, click on the spreadsheet and it'll bring it up in a view only. And you can then convert it to Google Sheets. It will pull in as much of the spreadsheet as it can and convert it for you. It's still working to bring it in. Another way to create, while that's working to bring it in, we'll look at creating a new Google Sheet. So we'll close this, we'll go to New, and then choose Google Sheets, which will open up a brand new blank Google Sheet for us. Once it's open, you can rename the sheet by either clicking on the rename field up here or File and Rename. So we'll click here and then click on OK. Let's go back and see how this sheet's doing. It's finally pulled everything in, so here's the chart that I had from my original. So if I were to open up the original, which was an Excel spreadsheet, you'll see the chart, which it looks a little different, but it tries to bring it in as much as it can. And here's my information. I'll close this. Right, so the files that you can upload and convert are .xls, .xlsx, .xlt, .ods, .csv, .tsv, .txt, and .tab. Each spreadsheet can have up to 256 columns and under 400,000 cells or 100 sheets, whichever one you reach first. So unlike Excel, you don't have all that many that you can use. I mean, quite a few, but not as many as in Excel. You can't convert a spreadsheet that's larger than 20 meg, so just keep that in mind. If what you're pulling in is larger than 20 meg, you can't convert it. You can upload it and have it in there as stored and view it as a view only, but you wouldn't be able to convert it. Just as in any other Google application, you can share this document. By default, it is private to just you. You can click on Advanced and then come into Private, only you can access, and click on the Change button. You can choose Public on the web, anybody with the link. The on, it used to say our domain name here, so we're in Google Apps for Education under our own domain name. This is just people within our domain can find and access it. This one is just people within our domain that have the link can find and access it. And again, this is just private. So we'll cancel that. You can also assign it to other people for them to be able to do things to it. Just view, comment, or edit. So if I wanted to assign somebody, and I'll use my other account, to be able to edit this with me, I would type in their name, And if it's a group of people I want to join, and I have them already in my contact list as a group, it will pull them up and I can just choose that group. So here's my tech department 4-group contact list, and if I chose that, it would put their names in there and it would then send them the invitation. Before I send it, I can determine what kind of access they have. Do I want them to be able to edit it, view and comment on it, or just view it? I'm actually going to remove some of these so they don't get this and wonder why they're getting this. You can notify the people with an email that you're sending it and add a message to kind of explain why you're sharing it with them. Or if you deselect this, you can just send it to their Google Drive without notifying them that it's there. And then you would have to let them know, or they would just find it when they're in their Google Drive sometime. Once you've determined what you want to do, you can click on send, and you can also choose to send a copy to yourself if you want to. And we'll send it and click on done. So now that person will receive an email letting them know that they have it. But one way to see it once it's been shared with you is to click on incoming in your drive. The last one that you've seen would be right here, and you'll double click. And you'll be able to see if anybody else is looking at this, as their name will show up here with the icon. It also assigns them a number so you can see what cell they're currently working in. So if I am in this cell, if I were to go back to this other person, you see I am pink. And if I hover over the cell with the pink, it says that Tanya Muchmore is currently working in this cell. If I were to click here and go over to Tanya Muchmore's site and look at it, I'm green. If I hover over it, a test teacher is working in this cell. So you can always tell which cell the other people are working in and who's doing what. You can make comments. So you can click on comments and comment, or insert comment. If you wanted to also email the comment to the person, you can put in the @ sign, choose the person, and then type what you want to say to them. And that will send an email to them with this comment in it. So if they're not currently in the document when you're making the comment, they'll receive an email letting them know that they have a comment. Under comments, you can also set up notifications. If you want all comments that are made, replies just to you, or none at all. So if you don't want to have anything emailed, if you want to have everything emailed, or just the emails to you. I mean the comments to you. Anytime you want to see what has been changed or how many revisions have been made on a sheet, you can go to File, See Revision History, and it's going to show you everything that's been done to that sheet and when and who did it. And then if you wanted to restore it, you could just click on the one that is accurate and choose Restore this version, and it'll take you back to that version of the spreadsheet. I don't know if you noticed, but when we made a comment, it put a little triangle in the cell that we commented on. So if you hover over that, it's going to show the comment. Whenever this comment is resolved, it's going to take that arrow away so it's not there anymore. If at any time you want to bring it back, you can just open up that comment again by typing a new one in or clicking reopen, and it'll put it back in there for you so it's still there. If you want to email other people that are working on this, you can just go to File, Email Collaborators. It'll bring up a list of everybody that the document is currently shared with. You can then select if you want to send it to everybody. Everyone by default will be selected. Or you can go in and check just the people you do want to send it to. Type the message in, send a copy to yourself, and send. You can also send this as an attachment directly from here. Click on Email as Attachment. Choose what type of attachment you want it to be, a PDF or a Microsoft Excel. Type in who you want to send it to, any message that you want, if you want to send a copy of it to yourself, and then send. You can insert an image into your document if you want to. Click on the cell where you want it to start, click on Insert Image, drag your image to the box, you can also take a snapshot if you know the URL of the image. If you want to look through your albums, take an image from your Google Drive, or if you need to search for an image. Once the image is uploaded, it'll appear for you. Actually, we're going to add some more cells so that we can get to the bottom of it. There we go. Find a corner, drag it to resize. Place the image where you want it. We can also create hyperlinks in our spreadsheet, and there are different ways of doing that. So if we want a link to appear here, we're going to click in the cell. We can type in the URL that we want to appear. So maybe we want to have it go to Amazon, and then it'll automatically make it a link that will take you to that site if it's clicked on. You can create a hyperlink formula. So you could say equals hyperlink open paren quote Amazon.com close quote close, and then copy. And what do we want it to be titled? We can just title it Amazon and then close paren and hit enter. So now its name is Amazon and the link goes to Amazon.com. If you're in the newest version of Google Drive, you can also do it by clicking on Insert, Link, or right from the toolbar you have the link button. And then you can choose it, type in what you want it to say for text. Or you can use the Command K or Control K button, and the same thing. If you're in the old version, you're not going to have the links, so you'll know you can't do those. You'll have to do it this way or this way by typing in the hyperlink. You can also add drawings to your spreadsheet. So if we wanted to actually put some callouts or arrows or text on this picture before putting it in there, we can go to Insert, Drawing, drag our picture to that drawing. Once the picture appears, you can adjust it to the size that you want. And then put anything on it that you want to. So if we wanted to put a text box, and we want the font to be white, we would choose More, White, so that it can be seen. Then we can type. And move it around, center it. If we wanted to, we could put some shapes on there, maybe an arrow. Or a call out if we wanted to use a call out. Put an equation on it. We could also use lines, arrows, elbow, curve, connectors, curves, polylines, or scribbles. You notice we also get crop, so if we wanted to crop the image, pull it in a little here. And then click on it again. Let's move our text over here. And then once we're ready and we have it the way we want, we click Save and Close. If we wanted, we didn't have to add anything to the picture. If we wanted to put anything beside it, we could do that also. We could click on Text Box, put a text box to the side of it. Save and Close. Now it'll pull that picture in for us. There we go. And we can move it to wherever we want it in our spreadsheet. If we go to another sheet, do sheet 2, and we add some column titles here. If we wanted to freeze this, so if this document got really long, but we always wanted to keep the top columns, we can go into View, Freeze Columns, or Freeze Rows. So in this instance, we want to freeze row number 1, so we would choose Freeze Row 1, and see how it puts a line across? So that means all of the rest will roll up under 1. So if I were to put in some first names, if this got to be too big, so now it's huge, it'll now scroll under those column headers so that I don't ever lose them. You can also freeze columns, up to 5 columns. So I could freeze, I have 4 columns here, I could freeze those 4. So any columns after that would scroll under these 4 columns, so they'd always stay there. So I could see any other information on the people rather than scrolling across the entire page and losing who I'm looking at. I would be able to see who I'm looking at in their information, and then the columns of information that are off to the side. So you can freeze up to 10 rows and 5 columns. So if we remove and say no frozen rows, no frozen columns, and bring it back to the way it was. To widen your columns, they're a little squished. If you highlight all of them and then get to the very end and double click, it's going to auto size your columns for you. Or you can get in between each one and move it out to the size that you would like. So if I were to put my last name here, and I wanted it to auto size, it's going to auto size to the longest cell in the column and automatically fit everything for you. You can set up notifications, so if you're sharing this with somebody and you want to set up notifications for it, you can choose to have a notification sent to you anytime a change is made, or if you're using a form with this spreadsheet, anytime a user submits a form. And how do you want it sent to you? Daily Digest would mean once a day at the end of the day you would get an email letting you know that something had been changed, or email right away. So as soon as somebody makes a change, you want it emailed. You can use the format painter in here just like you can Word. So if I set up the format of how I want some cells, so I'll set up these cells right here. I want them a size 12, and I want it in Courier. I want the text to be green and bold. And while I have that selected, I can choose my format paintbrush or paint roller. One click will let me use it one time. Double clicking will let me use it many times. When you double click, you just need to make sure you remember to click off it again, otherwise you just keep on using it. So we're going to format all these cells the same way. Now I can come out here and adjust my size again because that's changed how everything looks, and it's going to refit. And my spreadsheet's now all formatted and readjusted. You can also hide and unhide rows of columns if you want to. If we don't want the phone number showing, we can click on the drop down next to the column and choose Hide Column. Now you notice we have two little arrows letting us know we have one hidden. You can also hide rows, so if you click on the row, or if you have several that you want to hide, hold down your Shift key and click on the last one, and then right click on them and choose Hide Rows. And notice you have the little drop downs here. So anytime you want to get them back, you would just click on the arrow and it's going to pull them back. If you want to hide them again once you're done looking at them, you can just click on the undo and it'll hide them again. The same with a column. And once you're done looking at it, you can just click on undo and hide again, as long as it's still selected. So we'll unhide both of those. You can also use autofill. You need to have at least 3 cells filled in. So if we wanted to do a calendar, and then we're going to highlight those 3. Then you're going to see this little blue box at the bottom. You're going to grab it and it'll start auto-filling for you. So we have April, May, June, July, August. If you wanted to do the days of the week. Or if you want to do them down. Right, you can also do numbers. And it'll do patterns for you also. You can also protect a sheet from other collaborators being able to edit the sheet. To do so, you would click on the drop down of the sheet you want to protect, click on Protect Sheet, enter a description, set your permissions. So right now I'm the owner and Tanya Muchmore can edit, but maybe I don't want her to edit, so I'm going to click on Can View, save the changes, So they can only see the sheet, but they can't edit the sheet. Click on Done. And now you notice you have a little lock next to it. So if I, as Tanya Muchmore, come into that sheet and I try to edit anything, I'm not able to do so. I can't type. I can't move anything around on the sheet. I can go to the links, but that's about it. And it has a lock, so it lets me know that it's been protected. If I want to see any comments, I can hover over here and see the comments. But again, I can't edit the sheet. You can also protect ranges of a sheet. So if there's specific cells that you want to protect in the sheet so nobody else can edit them, you can do that. So in order to do that, you're going to select the cells that you want to protect. So we'll actually do that on sheet 2. We come in here and we want to protect all these cells right here. Then we're going to click on Data, Protected Sheets and Ranges. We'll enter a description. And then we're going to make sure that it shows what cells we've selected here. If that's not the correct cell range, you can click on this little button to the right. And then come over and select the cells that you do want. But if you've selected them beforehand, the correct one should show up in here. Click on OK. Then we're going to set permissions. And again, we're going to say what that person can do, so they can only view. We're going to save changes and say Done. Now if I, the person who was just blocked on there, come over to sheet 2, I'm going to see this, meaning I cannot do anything in those cells. You're trying to edit a protected cell or object. Please contact the owner to remove protection if you need to edit. So it's not going to let me edit anything in those cells. Any owner or editor of a sheet can set editing permissions for different sheets. However, an editor cannot remove editing permission from the owner. So the owner will always be able to access everything. An editor cannot block them out from being able to do so. If somebody that is a collaborator decided to make a copy of the sheet, then all protection would be lost in the copy that they make. So then they would have full access to it. If you're in a cell and you'd like to create 2 lines of information within the cell, you can do that by clicking on the cell, entering your first line of text, and then depending on if you're a Mac or a PC, you're going to choose Option and Enter on a Mac, or Alt and Enter or Control and Enter on a PC. And it's going to type your 2 lines of text. Or multiple, you can put more than 2 lines in there. You can just keep on going. Just hit Option and Enter or Control and Enter or Alt and Enter after each line to create the new line. You can use data validation to control what data you and any collaborators enter in the spreadsheets. So if you have specific requirements for how you want your contact to appear, you can make sure that the collaborators follow your format. So if you want text in a field or if you want a date in a field, they can't enter something other than what you're asking. You can also show them a comment on the cell if they try to enter any data that doesn't match the validation rule. So to set up cells to have specific formats, you're going to go to Data and select Validation. So we're going to open up another spreadsheet. And in this spreadsheet, we're going to click in cell A1. We're going to go to Data, Validation. So if we want to protect a certain range of cells rather than just one, you can click on the little button for Select Data Range, come in here, and select all the cells that you want to protect with the data validation and say OK, and then decide what type of validation we want. So we're going to choose a number, and it has to be a number that's between, not between, less than equal to, greater than equal to, or not equal to. So we want them to put in a number between 1 and 10. Now, do we want to show a warning or reject input? So if we want a warning, we can enter help so that they know what they're supposed to be putting in there. If we want to reject the input, we can also have the help showing to put in there. So we're going to go ahead and show a warning, and we're going to say saved. Now if I come in here, it's going to show me a pop-up, enter a number between 1 and 10. Gone to 1, and this one I'll put in 11. It's going to let me do it, but it's also going to give me a message that said invalid cell contents. It has to be a number between 1 and 10. So if I come back in here, select my cells, and I choose my data validation again, and I say reject input, and then save it. If I try to put in a number now, it's not going to put it in. Instead, it's going to say there's a problem. This is what you need to do. So now we're going to put in a 10, and it's going to let me do it. If you need to remove your data validation, just select your range that you had, go to Data, Validation, and then Remove Validation, and it'll take it off for you. So now it's just regular cells that you can put the information in. If you have data validation throughout the whole spreadsheet, if you click the top button here in the left above the 1 and to the left of the A, it selects your entire worksheet. You can then go to Data, Validation, and click Remove Validation, and it'll remove all the validations that you have set up throughout your entire worksheet. If you've put in a help tip and you've changed the criteria, you can click on Reset, and it'll reset the message to show what your new criteria is. You can create an in-cell drop-down list using data validation, and there's two ways you can do a drop-down list. You can either type in your own list or use a list that you have in another sheet in the workbook. So we're going to type in our own list, and we're going to click in A4. We're going to choose Data, Validation, and then we're going to choose List of Items, and we're going to enter all the items we want listed in here separated by a comma. Now we're going to determine whether or not we want to show a warning or reject the input. We want to display the in-cell button to show the list, and we want to show the help. So click and enter value from the list of items is what we want. And we're going to click on Save. So now you notice we have a little arrow here in this cell, and if anybody goes to it, they can then click on an item from the drop-down. If you wanted to create a list from a range of cells that you have in another worksheet, click in the cell that you want the list to appear, go to Data, Validation, List from a Range, click on the little Select Data Range box. Let's go to Market Data, and we're going to choose this range right here. We're going to say OK, and now you notice it says Market Data A26 to A29. We want it to show a warning or reject input, and we want it to show help. If we don't want it to show any help, we can just leave it blank so they won't know where we're getting the list from. Say Save. Now we'll go back to Sheet 2, or Sheet 3. And now we have a cell with a drop-down, and in the drop-down we have the list that came from Market Data. So they can then select from that list. Quick Sum can be used for more than 1,000 cells to let you see the sum of the selected cells right within the spreadsheet without having to enter any functions or formulas. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we have it set up so it can work. So we're going to go to File, Spreadsheet Settings, and make sure our locale is the United States. We can change our time zone if we want. And then recalculate on change in every minute or on change in every hour, and save the settings. Now if we highlight the figures we want to total, and we look over on the right hand corner at the bottom, you're going to see where it says sum is 66. You can change this so you can have an average, a minimum, the maximum, the count, or count numbers. Different options of sorting your information. One of the ways is by using filtering. The filter feature in Google lets you analyze and view your data by hiding the data that you temporarily want to take out of view. When you want it visible again, you just disable the filter and it'll bring it all back, or you just select all the items in the column or row that's filtered and bring it back that way. When you enable the filter feature, it filters the data for all of the spreadsheet's viewers and collaborators. So if you're filtering and somebody else is looking at it, they're going to see the spreadsheet as it looks while you're filtering. Any editor can disable the filter at any time. To enable and disable a filter, you're going to click on the auto filter in your column. So click on the column and click on the auto filter button, and you're going to see little drop downs that appear. Now this is a short spreadsheet, so it would make more sense to have it used in a spreadsheet where you have lots of data. I just want to show you a sample of how to use a filter. You can also select the filter by saying data, and then this would say filter, or to turn it off you can just click here to say turn off filter, or you can just click on the filter button and it turns it off again. So we're going to turn it back on. So we're going to filter on the address column. So we're going to click on the filter button, and in here you see it lets you automatically select all addresses to filter on. You can sort them by A through Z or Z through A, or you can clear all the filters and scroll through and pick an address, or you can come in here and type, and it's going to bring up whatever's close to what you're typing, and then you can select that and say OK. So it's going to sort it down to just the people at that address. Now if you wanted to sort it down further, maybe by phone number, you can come in here and say, I just want to see the people that actually have a phone number. So deselect the blanks, and it'll narrow it down to just the people with a phone number. Like I said, I know this is a short spreadsheet to show this to you in, but I just wanted you to get an idea. And then to select them all, you just click on select all again and bring it back. So you can leave the filters on all the time if you want to. You don't have to have them off. Or if you prefer to have them off, you can just click on it when you're done so that you know you've put the information back the way it was. There's only one filter allowed per spreadsheet to prevent collaborators from overwriting each other's data. The filter will show, like I said, for all the editors and viewers, but it can only be removed by anybody with editing rights, so a viewer cannot remove the filter. If you want to do advanced sorting by different columns and varying priority, you can use the advanced sorting options to do so. So you can sort a range of cells according to rules set for one or more columns. For an example, if you were a teacher using this for a grade book and you wanted to sort your grade book by class period, then by grade, then by last name, you could set up these rules by using the following steps. So we're going to sort the data in here. I know it's not very much data, but we're going to sort it. So we're going to highlight the group of cells that we want to sort. Choose data, sort range. We want to let it know it has a header row. We're going to sort by last name, alphabetically, ascending. We're going to add another column. We're going to sort by address, ascending. We're going to choose sort. So now it's sorted by last name and then by address. Because if we look, Samantha should have been first for first name with Alan, But however, Shadow's address is 788. So his, because we told it to sort on the address second, goes above Samantha's, which is 789. Your formula button is located up on the toolbar, and you can do sum, average, count, max, or min. To look at more functions available, if you click on more functions, it'll bring you to a new page of Google Spreadsheets function list. So the one I wanted to show you today was concatenate and how to do it in spreadsheets, because I know it's a popular one that people like to use within Excel. So if we go back to our spreadsheet and we insert a column to the left, so you click on insert to the left, or you can choose the drop down here and insert one left. And we're going to type in here full name, and we're going to use concatenate or concat. So we're going to put equals concat. Concatenation is the two values that you're going to add together. And we want to create a full name, so we're going to use open paren, our first cell, and then a comma. We're going to click on the second cell that we want to combine, and then we're going to use a close paren, and then hit enter. So it's going to put that name together. Now if we wanted a space in there when we did the formula, then in that case we're going to use a different formula. We're going to use concatenate, so we're going to type in here equals concat, and then choose concatenate. We're going to choose the first name, comma, quote, space, quote, comma, the last name, close paren, and equals. And now we have the full name. So you use concat to combine two cells together, and concatenate to combine cells with string text in between the cells or in addition to the cells. For example, if we wanted to create an email address and we want to insert a column, so insert one left, email address, we can do so by using concatenate equals concat. So concatenate, we're going to choose first column, comma, the second column, comma, quote, at, and then the last of the email address, end quote, close paren, and hit enter. And now we have an email address. So now if we wanted to create email addresses for people and then upload them into our Google Apps, we could use that in the worksheet to do this. Google Spreadsheets also has add-ons that you can use. To see which ones there are, you can click on Get Add-ons and browse through the different ones that are available. So there's Doctopus, Mapping Sheets, and again, if you hover over them, they'll open them up. You'll get more information about them. You can just go through them, pick the ones that you think you might like to use, try it out. If you decide that the add-on's not working the way you felt it would work with your Google Drive, you can just come into add-ons, manage add-ons, and remove the add-on that you don't like.